Hi, I'm Danielle Isaac Lewis, and I'm your clinical nutrition strategist of Noyan Worldwide. And so today I want to talk about something that came across my radar that I have real thoughts on. Uh, May of this year, PCOS got renamed. It's now being called PMOS, polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome. And so the medical community is presenting this as a significant step forward. It partially is, in my opinion. I'll give it that. There's a larger conversation to me that is not happening. And so I want to get into some of that today. And so, what does the rename actually mean? PCOS was always framed as a hormonal and reproductive condition. The name implied the primary issue lived in the ovaries. Cysts, irregular cycles, elevated androgens, that was typically the frame. PMOS expands it. Polyendocrine means multiple endocrine systems are involved. Metabolic means blood sugar regulation, insulin response, and energy metabolism are part of the picture. The rename acknowledges that this condition moves through the whole hormonal communication, not just the reproductive only. And so that matches what functional health practitioners have been seeing in clinical work for a while. Here's where I am taking a pause. We're still naming patterns, and the population most affected by this condition is still not being seen in the context of what's actually creating the pattern. Black women and women of color are diagnosed with PCOS, now PMOS, at higher rates than any other racial group. That's not incidental. That's a data point that should be directing the entire clinical conversation, but it's not. By the time PMS is recognized in a black woman or woman of color's 20s or 30s, the menstrual and metabolic patterns behind that diagnosis have often been present for about 5 to 10 years. For women whose cycles were suppressed with contraceptives or repeatedly dismissed, the unaddressed pattern can extend closer to 15 years. That's not a gap in the system. That's the system consistently not catching the pattern in the women who carry the highest physiological burden for it. So when I look at what's happening physiologically in black women, women of color who carry this diagnosis, the pattern is consistent. The adrenal system is responding to a sustained demand. The HPA axis has been activated chronically, often for years before the diagnosis arrives. Cortisol is dysregulated. That dysregulation is driving glucose instability. The pancreas is compensating. Insulin resistance develops. The thyroid downregulates because the system is in conservation mode. Reproductive hormones are affected because the body is prioritizing survival signals over reproductive function. None of that is a malfunction. Every part of that is the system responding accurately to what it's been given to work with. The issue is not the response. The issue is the input, which is chronic. Racial stressors, systemic stressors, food insecurity, lack of food diversity, generational trauma patterns that were never clinically addressed because the system wasn't designed to address them in black and brown bodies. Code switching on a regular basis across professional and personal environments, adverse childhood experiences that compound into adult health patterns, arriving in a clinic a decade later labeled as a hormonal disorder. All of it plays a part. All of it is layers and it compounds. All of it is contributing to the hormonal and metabolic picture that just got a new name. The rename does not address any of it. A redesignation without a root cause conversation does one thing: it gives the medical system permission to keep treating the downstream effects of chronic stress without addressing chronic stress itself. Pharmaceutical interventions don't resolve the systemic pressure that created the cortisol pattern. Hormonal therapies don't undo weathering. Lifestyle recommendations built on stress management don't account for the fact that the stressors are structural and ongoing. You can't supplement your way out of food insecurity. You cannot exercise your way out of an environment that keeps generating the same threat signal your nervous system is responding to and perceiving as not being safe. If you are a Black woman or a woman of color carrying this diagnosis, or if you've been told your labs are normal and something still feels off, hear this clearly. Your body's not malfunctioning. Your body's responding to what it has been given to survive inside of, environment wise, system and construct wise, life wise. That is mechanical. It's not personal. It's not a reflection of your choices or your discipline. The conversation about that and what actually helps has to start with the truth.